Hello, welcome back. Today's video will hopefully be short and sweet. I'm going to show how to use the Notion template I just finished building. If you'd like to get this Notion template for yourself, I have a series of videos showing how I built it step by step so you can build it yourself. If you don't want to do that, I've also put the template up on my Ko-fi shop, which I will link below. And if you go that route and you get it from the shop, you'll receive a link to the template. And in order to get a copy for yourself, there is an option at the top of the page to duplicate the Notion template. But it's there at the top. You can click it and then it will have you log into your Notion account. It will copy it to your personal Notion. When I did that, I first changed the icon in the header just to make it a little bit more me. A lot of people like to put their vision boards at the top. I don't typically make vision boards, but that's an idea for anyone who does. I just grabbed something that I liked from Unsplash because I'm going to be seeing a lot of this. It's going to be kind of my dashboard for tasks. So at the very top level of the template, we have this idea of life tracks, which are basically categories of your life. Some people call them domains, and I've decided to do home, health, work and development, because I do work as a software developer, and then creative. So I'm using the new button, which has a template for each of these life tracks. I decided to include covers and make them visible for all of these. And since I wanted to try and keep them all to one line across, I dragged the dividers around a little bit to give this section just a tiny bit more space. And the way I've set up the LifeTrack templates is that they have these filtered databases. I talked about these at length in the build videos, but when you have templates filtered to the current page, you can use it to add related objects without having to manually fill in all of the relations. And before starting this process, I've gone through and brainstormed what I want my tasks to be for the upcoming month. I'm just going to be doing March in this setup. Usually I do a quarter at a time, but I wanted to have a chance to test it out before I did a full plan session for quarter two, so I'm just testing it out in March. I also mentioned this in the build video, but I find that Notion doesn't really work for me as a place for long form notes. I find it difficult to search, difficult to organize, so this template does not have a place for any of that. It really is just for tasks and goals and sort of numbers related to those tasks and goals. And it's really designed to work with the newly released Notion calendar. So the first set of tasks I want to put in are going to be in the creative life track, and they are part of a project, which I have this concept of projects, which are really just tasks which contain other tasks. And it's the alphabet superset. It's a creative challenge I've been doing for almost 6 months. I'm pretty far behind, but I want to get it done in March because the end of it is meant to be that first week of April. So I've worked out the dates of how many of these I'll have to do each week in order to catch up, and I'm going to add them in here. Now, this is one place I could use recurring tasks, which is something that this template supports, but since I want to sort of forecast, each week has a letter assigned to it for the alphabet superset. So even though I'm doing the same thing each week, I want to differentiate those, so I am going to put them in one by one. You could just do recur type from origin, recur every 1 week, and then you could use the recurrence buttons, which I'll show a little bit later. And because I've set up this template so that these filtered tables have only the editable properties on them, it's really quite easy to just plug in a bunch of information. And entering like an entire month or an entire quarter of tasks has typically been kind of hard to do in Notion because it's just a little bit tedious. So I've done as much as I can to simplify that process here. You can also use keyboard shortcuts, tab to get to the next property, enter and arrow keys to select values in those properties. It's a little tedious with dates, so I just use the mouse for those, but it's a fairly quick process to get all of these in. Next, I'm going in and putting in my videos for March, and I'm doing each video as a project because I do split my video creation into generally 3 steps. I do scripting and recording as one step, editing as a second step, and then like publishing reviewing the finished video and like metadata, thumbnails, and things like that as a third step. And I also have a couple videos that I want to be a surprise to you guys, so I'm just putting in some abbreviated letters, just enough for me to remember what they are, and then I'll add the details in later. Next, I'm adding my Twitch streams, and these I do want to put in as recurring tasks because I don't really have anything stream to stream that's going to be different. So I do streams on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and I realized here I forgot to make the recur until property visible when I did the build, so I'll update that on the template, but if you followed the build, you'll need to go into the template and add recur until to the table here so that it shows up for you. And I want my Twitch streams to recur on the same day, even if I'm late or if I miss a day. So I do recur from origin as the recur type. And I have two different options for this. From origin will always recur, at the same time from the initial date. From last will recur based on the last time you did it. So if I have recur time frame set to weeks, recur amount set to 1, from origin will recur every week on the same day. And then from last, it will recur a week after the last time you did it. So I hope that makes sense. And I want all of these just to recur until the end of March. So I'll plug in that date as the recur until value. And then at the end of March, I'll make a new one for Q2. And in order to get these recurring every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I do need 3, each one recurring after 1 week. And this is all the tasks I have for the Creative Life Track, but while I'm here, I'll add some metrics. I'll just add a couple for now because I haven't actually thought these through yet. So I haven't decided what metrics I really want to track and what goals I want to set. I'm just going to set some up kind of as like a demonstration for this video. So just to demonstrate, I'm going to add YouTube subs. So I'll just add the name, YouTube subscribers, subs as the metric units, and that's pretty much good to go. There's not a lot of information on the metric type. You just want to define it so you can start adding values to it. And then I'm going to add a goal for this metric just to show what that looks like. I didn't really set a goal, but I'll just pick 1700 since I'm a little above 1500 at this point. So 1700 in a month seems fine. And I'll mention here, the metric types and the goal types have this value of how it should be calculated. And I did this because things like YouTube subscribers, you just want the most recent value. You don't want to have to calculate how many you've gotten since the last one and like sum it all up. You just want the latest value. So from latest or from last is what that is for. And then other metrics you do want to sum. You want to add them up. So like you do a couple of things on this day, you log them, you do a couple things on this day, you want it to be the total. You want it to be the total of all those values. So that's sum. And then there's also average, which I don't have a good example for, but it seems like something that's useful where you want to track the average of something over time. And I did discover something else that I wanted to update during this process, and that's that I want to add a starting value for goals, because if I'm starting from 0, like with the YouTube subs, for example, I'm not starting from 0 during this goal time frame. I'm starting from, 15, 20, or whatever it was at the start. And so I want to be able to see the progress from the start value to the final value. So I've gone and added that. I've updated the formula simply by adding a starting value property, subtracting it from the current value and the total in order to get the actual amount that it's changed. So I'll get that updated in the template, but it's not going to be in the build video because I did it afterwards. So you'll need to go in and do that. And that's just one example of a metric and a goal and getting that all set up. Next, I'm going to add my health tasks. These are all recurring, and they are the same things I've been maintaining for a few months. They're not really anything new. I do 2 treadmill workouts a week and 2 strength workouts a week. I'll probably add metrics here once I've had a chance to think about them. Things like heart rate variability, mile time, maybe a weight that I'm able to do for a certain strength exercise. Those are just some ideas. But that's all I've got for health tasks. Moving on to home. And a lot of these are going to be recurring as well, but this is where I'll introduce the from last, because a lot of cleaning tasks, it makes more sense to do it on a recurring basis based on the last time you did it. So some of these cleaning tasks recur at different intervals, but for example, cleaning out the cat litter boxes every 2 days. If I miss a day, I'm not then going to clean it, 2 days in a row. I will do it 2 days from the last cleaning. So not only do they recur at different intervals than each other, but the day that I do it on may change based on like how consistent I am and how far behind I'm getting, because I don't want to overload myself. So these tasks can sort of roll over and it won't cause any problems. They'll still stick to their own individual schedules. I also went in and added a little project to plan for Q2. So I have tasks in here to sort of brainstorm, reflect on the past quarter, plan out the next quarter, and get it all plugged in. And I've spaced out the timing of these so I can do that at like a leisurely pace instead of rushing it. And then next I have some game development tasks to put in. I don't usually do this, but I'm trying out a 3-tiered task system for game development. And this is partially to demonstrate that you can do this with this template, but also I just think it will help me divide out sort of milestones better. So I have my whole game project at the top level, milestones or like features in the middle level, and then individual tasks at the bottom level. And you can just use Notion's sub-item system here, and you can use the little arrow to expand it and add tasks right underneath. For my game project in March, I really want to finish up the fishing system, so I've put some tasks in here that I think will let me accomplish that. And again, I've done a lot of thinking about all this before plugging it in. I'm not coming up with that in the template or like on the fly. I also have some design work and research I want to do that I've put some tasks in for as well. Metrics for my game are actually kind of tricky. I really wasn't sure what to do here. And I think what I want to do for now is add hours of effort as a metric, because I just don't really have any ways to measure the results of this project because it's not released. It's not being like rated by anybody. In the future, like if I had a Steam page, I could track wish lists. If it were published, I could track sales or some kind of like public engagement. But for now, this project is not out yet. There are no real like outside results to track, so I have to get a little bit creative on how I figure out if I'm sticking to my goals on this or not. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much how you can set up this Notion template. There are some limitations because of the recurring tasks. Notion just can't do relative dates in certain situations very well, but I think I did a decent job getting a recurring system in here that is going to be useful without getting too crazy. And of course, if you really need granular, like recurring to-dos on very specific schedules, I personally would recommend using something like Todoist that has that built in for you. But I feel pretty good. I've been using this at the time of the recording for about a week and a half, and I feel like it's working. I'm enjoying the recurring tasks. In order to complete them, you just press one of the two buttons, the check button if you completed it, and an X button if you've skipped it. And then you can update the set date for tasks if you need to move them. And also, since we have the calendars on each of the databases, you can access those calendars from Notion Calendar, which I didn't show because there's a lot of private information on my Notion Calendar. But all you do is you go into Notion Calendar, you add a Notion database, and then it will show up in the list there. And then you can either do the next due date or the set date, or you could do the active date for projects. So it's all there and it's all accessible. And for me, it's been working really well. I did notice one limitation with Notion Calendar though, and with some of the calendar views. The way that the recurring tasks work, they don't actually exist until they've recurred. So you can't really look forward in advance, like a month, and get a good idea of recurring tasks, unless you do create individual ones for each recurrence. But again, that's just kind of a limitation of Notion, and I've done my best to make things easy without losing too much information. But there it is. I hope you like it. That's all I've got for this video. Like I said, I am publishing this template to my Ko-fi shop, so if you'd like to pick it up there, you can. I'm sure you'll see more of it as I do planning for Q2, because I have a lot of big ideas, and I like to do a little plan with me around the quarters. Not every quarter, but some of them. And I think this is going to be a big one. But I hope this was helpful. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, because I'll be back soon with another video, and I hope to see you there. Bye bye!